6,000 years before the One Ring is destroyed, Middle-earth lies under the shadow of the Dark Lord, Morgoth. The greatest warriors among elves and men have perished, and all is in darkness and despair. But a deadly new leader rises, Húrin, son of Húrin, and with his grim band of outlaws begins to turn the tide in the war for Middle-earth, awaiting the day he confronts his destiny and the deadly curse laid upon him. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Himbar, and today I have a review of sorts for the J.R.R. Tolkien's The Children of Húrin. I just want to start this off by saying I feel very much like an imposter anytime I try to talk about Tolkien. He is my favorite author by far, and there are so many good scholars and good analyses of his work that I just feel like I don't do it justice at all. So I'm just gonna talk and give my feelings. This is a reread for me. This is actually the first Tolkien story I ever actually completed reading, and it is what made me fall in love with the author, and reading it again just made me fall in love again, which is typical for me. The story itself is a translation by a poet named Haval, who was a man who was one of the Adain from the First Age. And it was called the Narn I Hin Húrin, which is, the tale of the children of Húrin. Now, the story does focus mostly on the one child, his son, Húrin. And the story starts off kind of quickly with tragedy striking and Húrin and his family being cursed. Now, there is almost nothing happy that happens in this tale. It is super tragic. This is just straight up a tragedy. And it's not very long, so if you want to read it, it's very short. And it's just super quotable at the same time. Now, our main character, Húrin, is a hot-headed, he's foolhardy, and he's really not helping himself, but he's also had a really rough life with, the fact that he's cursed. And he's got so many bad things happen to him. But I resonate with the character so much because even though he's not the brightest sometimes, he never has it easy. And he kind of lets that get to him, and he's very melancholy. And when you've had some of the stuff that's happened to him, I think I'll probably go into spoilers here in a minute, but I'll warn you before that happens. It's not surprising. It's really not surprising. And, it kind of, reminds me of, I'm reading, an early history of man type of thing, before it's, the end of prehistory, kind of really get into the earliest of history stuff, where it's just kind of spotty, it doesn't really make sense, maybe a little, it kind of feels like that, or maybe a little bit like reading William Morris prose romance, which I've only read a couple of, but, when I first read this way back when I was way younger, I hadn't read any of that yet, so... But with that, I'm just going to get into a couple spoilers. That it's really, really tough, I feel like, on the main character, that his life is just tipped on its head. And from a very young age, his father gets taken captive. He can't do anything about it. His mother is basically taken captive. All his people are taken captive, essentially, though they're not in the hands of Morgoth directly like his father is. And, he flees. He's not really a nice guy. He doesn't really make any friends besides this one true friend he has, Baelig, and then he ends up killing him on accident. And that's just so heartbreaking. And then and he takes his sword though on Glachil and makes his own of Gurthane, and it's by this sword, if I'm remembering correctly, that he dies at the end of the story, and it's Master of Doom by Doom Mastered. And this story just has so many quotes. It's so quotable, and they go it starts right off the bat, and it doesn't stop, basically. There's one, I'm paraphrasing this, but those who flee from their fears are quicker to find it. Or, I will not say do not be afraid, because you fear what should be feared. And then, do then what your heart bids you, but do it swiftly. And it's just all this stuff together. Tolkien just pulling all these punches. And I realize this is kind of based off of the Kalevala of Finnish, origin. And I haven't read that. Honestly, I hear Kullervo was a big influence on Húrin's tragic story and past and just whatnot. And I would like to read that. It's really short. I haven't. I've had it for years, and I should read it. But I don't know. I just wanted to leave these thoughts that this is such a story that I love. As you can tell, I'm not prepared to talk about it. I really have tried for weeks, because I finished this weeks ago, just to sit down and just write down some actual thoughts on what I thought of this, like make an actual review. And I really just can't bring myself to. If someone wants to discuss this with me, I'd probably love to, but I really just, man, the imposter syndrome is just, it's hitting hard. I really feel like I'm just not qualified for this, but it is something I love. And thanks for listening to my ramblings, at least. It's been Liam Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.